Welcome back to the deep dive. Often we come at you with this just a mountain of sources, reports, articles, all of it.
Oh, yeah, a huge stack of them.
Exactly. But today, we're doing something a little different. We're proving that depth of knowledge isn't always about, the volume of information.
Right.
We are doing a deep dive on a single, very short note. Just a fascinating observation from a keen gardener about a plant they found.
And it's a wonderful challenge. I mean, we have maybe 100 words of source material here.
That's it.
But it is packed with insights into botanical identity, practical gardening, and even a little bit of human psychology.
Absolutely. So the subject of this note is a plant known scientifically as Pentas lanceolata.
And far more memorably, the Egyptian starcluster.
A much better name.
Our mission here, as always, is to give you that shortcut to being well-informed. We're taking this one little snapshot of an encounter and pulling out every essential nugget.
Every reason why this plant earned the title of a promising garden flower.
Exactly. We're going beyond the pretty name and, right into its actual utility.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we should start where the note does, with the basic identity of it all.
The names.
The names. We have the precise academic one, Pentas lanceolata, and then that wonderful common name, Egyptian starcluster.
Right.
And that common name, it gives you an immediate visual cue, doesn't it? It just paints a picture of its defining feature.
These 5-pointed star-shaped flowers that cluster together.
Right at the ends of the stems.
And that 5-pointed shape is so critical. It's actually where the name comes from. Pentas literally means 5.
Oh, yeah.
But what I find fascinating is the qualifier the source immediately includes. It's a note for the savvy gardener.
What's that?
The note says the plant resembles other species, particularly in leaf shape.
Well, this is where I always get tripped up.
It's where a lot of novice gardeners can stumble, yeah.
Yeah.
You see a certain leaf texture or general shape, and you just jump to conclusions.
So for you, the listener, what family are we even in here? And what kind of plants might cause this confusion?
Well, we're in the Rubiaceae family, which is just massive. It includes everything from coffee plants all the way to gardenias.
Wow.
The specific challenge the source is hinting at is that the leaves, which are sort of medium green, pointed, arranged oppositely, they could easily be mistaken for something like certain varieties of phlox, or even common annuals like vinca, especially when they're not blooming.
So the general shape can trick you. You might think it's something common, maybe even a little boring if it's not in full flower.
Exactly. And the lesson here for plant identification is to ignore the common feature. You have to focus on the unique, specific detail.
Though the flower.
The flower.
Yeah.
The name lanceolata actually refers to the lance-shaped leaf, but the common name starcluster that points you to the geometry of the bloom.
Right.
If you find one of these in a nursery, you have to rely on those tightly clustered, perfect little tubular stars to know what you have, not the foliage.
So that star shape is the real botanical fingerprint.
It's the fingerprint that distinguishes it from all its lookalikes.
Yes. It's like the difference between looking at a face versus just the general body shape. The face, the flower, that's unique.
A perfect analogy.
Okay, now let's use that knowledge and talk about why the person who wrote this note considered it so promising.
Yeah.
Because this is where it gets really interesting for the gardener. The source identifies Pentas lanceolata as a perennial shrub. Now, we all know what perennial means. It comes back year after year. But let's dig into that shrub part. That's a huge distinction from a herbaceous perennial.
It is. When a plant is classified as a shrub, it means it develops a woody base, a real structure.
Okay.
So unlike a herbaceous perennial, which dies all the way back to the ground and just relies on its roots to regrow, a shrub keeps some of that above-ground framework.
And why does that matter? For the gardener who wants a low-effort, high-impact plant, why is that woody structure so important?
It implies robustness, resilience. That established structure means the plant can anchor itself better. It can often handle a moderate drought more effectively once it's established.
I see.
It gives it a more, enduring presence in the landscape. It's living architecture, not just temporary decoration.
That structural element is key.
Yeah.
But we should probably qualify this for our listener.
Okay.
When we say perennial shrub, that sounds like something that can handle a really cold winter, which isn't exactly true for Pentas everywhere, is it?
That's a really important point about hardiness. In its native region, Africa, Egypt, East Africa, it's a true long-lived perennial shrub. It's happy all year.
But not here.
But for most North American or European gardeners, you have to remember it's only reliably perennial in USDA zones 10 through 11.
Which means if you live anywhere with a real frost, you're either treating it as an annual or you have to bring it inside for the winter.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But even when you treat it as an annual, that inherent vigor it has as a shrub means it just thrives during the growing season. It often gives you this extended, prolific bloom period that really outstrips a lot of traditional annuals. It's a workhorse of a flower, famous for attracting hummingbirds and butterflies all summer long.
So that promising label comes from its potential.
Its potential, exactly. That classification as a perennial shrub, it signals this level of innate vigor that immediately appeals to a practical gardener. Less work, more established growth.
But the source note immediately follows this up with something just as practical.
Yes, the means of expansion.
Right.
Synthesizing these two facts is critical. The source states the gardener realized they could likely propagate it through cuttings.
And this combination is the real gold star of the discovery, isn't it?
It's the whole package.
Talk us through why ease of propagation is such a massive factor in what makes a plant promising. You find one you love, and then suddenly you can have 10 of them.
Well, it completely changes the cost equation. I mean, if a plant is difficult to reproduce, maybe it needs special seed treatments or complex grafting, it stays expensive or rare. But the Pentas, being a perennial shrub, it's amenable to simple vegetative propagation. You can clone it.
Which means you don't need seeds, which might not even grow true to the parent plant anyway.
Exactly. You can clone your perfect specimen perfectly.
So what kind of cuttings are we talking about here? Is this some high-tech lab process?
Not at all. For Pentas, you're generally talking about softwood or semi-hardwood cuttings.
Meaning?
You just take small sections from the actively growing non-woody stem tips, that's the softwood, dip them in a little rooting hormone and put them in a sterile medium.
And they just go.
Because the plant naturally has that shrub-like vigor, these cuttings generally take root really quickly and easily. And that trait ensures accessibility for any enthusiastic gardener who wants more than one.
So we have a plant with striking, unique flowers. We have the established vigor of a perennial shrub.
Right.
And we have the practicality of easy, reliable cloning. That is basically the definition of a high-value garden addition. Low effort, guaranteed return, and easy multiplication.
The starcluster is checking every single one of the fundamental boxes here. It's a horticultural champion.
Which makes the next part of this note, the story of its discovery, so weird.
So utterly compelling, yes.
All right, let's shift from the plant's biology to the psychological puzzle that's embedded in this source.
Okay.
The author says they spotted this highly desirable plant at a grocery store, which they said was uncommon.
And that little detail immediately sets the scene. The gardener wasn't on some specialized hunt at a nursery.
No.
They just stumbled upon this high-value specimen in a totally mundane, unexpected place. It speaks to the joy of, serendipitous discovery.
But then here's the twist. The gardener identifies the plant, recognizes all its value, knows it's a perennial shrub, knows it can be propagated, but then explicitly states they did not purchase the plant for an inexplicable reason.
It is the ultimate moment of restraint.
It makes no sense.
We've identified a clear winner, a plant that ticks every single box, and yet the gardener just walks away. Why? The author calls the reason inexplicable, but we can speculate, can't we?
We have to. I mean, we're left asking, was it a budget thing, no room in the car, or something deeper?
I think it points strongly toward prioritization and intentionality.
How so?
The plant is too valuable for an impulse buy. A thoughtful gardener lives by the right plant, right place mantra. Maybe they didn't have the right spot prepared. Maybe the timing was just wrong for their schedule.
So the discovery needed to be honored, not rushed.
Exactly. And instead of buying it, what did they do?
They placed the Pentas lanceolata on a long-awaited plant species list for future exploration.
And that is the key piece of behavior to analyze. It wasn't dismissed, it was elevated.
Yeah.
That decision tells us that the joy of intellectual identification and strategic planning, in this one instance, it outweighed the immediate satisfaction of just having the thing.
It implies a much larger long-term gardening strategy, a list, a plan.
It suggests that a serious gardener uses a list to prioritize their research, to make sure a future acquisition is deliberate, and to ensure success once the plant actually gets home.
So it transforms the discovery from just a moment of fleeting excitement into a structured research project.
Yes. The plant earns its place on the list. It confirms its worthiness for a long-term investment of time and, garden space.
If we connect that to the bigger picture, it's a really powerful metaphor, isn't it?
But I mean,
Well, even when you're presented with a known promising candidate, a plant, a business idea, whatever, sometimes true mastery requires the discipline to first catalog it, research it, and plan before you just dive in.
it's the process of filtering and focusing, which is essential in a world that's overloaded with desirable information or desirable plants.
That's a profound takeaway, that even the most exciting discoveries can benefit from just sitting on a list for a while.
The act of listing something confirms its worthiness for investment, whether that investment is time, money, or, in this case, valuable garden real estate.
So let's recap the journey we just took from this wonderfully brief source.
Let's do it.
We started with that star-shaped identity, the thing that overcomes its deceptive foliage, and it reminds us to always rely on the most specific floral detail.
Then we analyzed its massive practical appeal as a perennial shrub, a vigorous plant offering longevity and structure even if you have to bring it indoors in colder climates.
And maybe most critically, we synthesized those twin practical advantages, the promise of it coming back, coupled with the ease of making more through simple stem cuttings.
Which confirms the Pentas lanceolata as a low-cost, high-reward anchor plant.
And finally, we pulled out that behavioral nugget, that the discovery of this amazing plant resulted not in an impulse buy, but in its strategic placement on a long-awaited plant species list.
Right. So the ultimate value of this deep dive isn't just knowing what the Egyptian starcluster is. It's understanding the specific criteria that elevate a plant to high-value status for a discerning, disciplined gardener.
It shifts the focus entirely from what is it to why does it matter and how should I incorporate it strategically.
The Pentas lanceolata is really a blueprint for a high-value garden addition.
A blueprint that requires patience.
The blueprint that requires patience.
Indeed. So, based on the source material, we know this flower is Pentas lanceolata, we know it's promising, and we know it's now firmly on that gardener's list. And that leaves us with a final provocative thought for you. We all have goals that sit on a list waiting for the right moment, the right plan. What plant species or what project is currently on your long-awaited list for future intentional exploration? What's the star cluster you're waiting to bring home?